Britney Spears song came out in 2000. Put it together, and you can take a look at regional banks because they're showing the kind of weakness they showed back in 2000. Oops, they did it again. And what I'm talking about in this case is the KBW Regional Banking Index. It consists of 50 lenders, comparing that with the S&P 500. And when you do the ratio between the two, you find out that it's fallen to the lowest level since September 2000. Now, you can argue why that might be. I mean, given that interest rates have been coming down and, maybe there's concern about where the business is headed. What you can argue, though, this particular indicator is down 39% from a peak in December 2016.
It's a big drop.
It is, absolutely. And so to have that kind of historical perspective is interesting. And, it's funny, I saw this posting on the All-Star Charts blog, J.C. Parrott's. He was looking at exchange-traded funds because there is one on the KBW banking index, as well as, of course, the S&P 500, but it didn't go back as far. The underlying indexes are really more telling when it comes to getting a historical perspective on what we're seeing now. How weak the regional banks are in relative terms. I mean, when we talk about finance, we tend to focus on, the biggest companies, the Citigroups, the JP Morgans, the Wells Fargos of the world. But this perspective is perhaps even more telling in terms of just how the broader banking industry has been doing lately. And the short answer is not well, at least in stock market terms. So if you want to know what I'm talking about, folks, send me an email. I'll get you the chart, the explanation that goes with it, and everything I do going forward. The email address is dwilson@bloomberg.net. That's dwilson@bloomberg.net.
Nice. I was going Jason and I teased you and said we're going to go back to 2000.
Yeah.
Britney Spears. But with a twist.
Yeah. That was in 2000. Was that song from 2000? Oops, I did it again. Wow.
20 years ago. Britney was just a kid.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Still pretty young. Yeah. That was a good song, though. I really like that song. What do you make of the market today?
It's interesting to see the potential for records for the S&P 500, a record for the NASDAQ. And it's another case of resilience. I was talking about analog devices earlier, the whole idea that, the coronavirus is going to hurt their business and the shares go up anyway. And it'll be interesting to see how much more of that sort of thing comes out, especially next week when you get to the retailers, because let's face it, a lot of their supplies come from China. It's not like they're selling there necessarily, except if you think about a Tiffany, for example. But just in terms of what the shutdowns of factories and so on may mean for their supply chain and how it may affect business going forward. That will be something to watch.
Yeah.
I still feel like we're not getting a full read on the market impact yet.
Oh, for the virus?
For the virus?
Yeah, I do. I think there's a lot of fuzzy room here right now because I think until those numbers start to trend in the other direction where we see no new cases and there's, you can kind of put some end to it, then I think you can start to put final numbers on it. Until that, we just don't, again.
Or maybe it's not going to be until
we don't
earnings,
know what we don't know.
Right? When people actually say this was the impact in the first quarter, because...
Well, right. But as investors, if you see something has come to an end, then you'll be like, all right, so that's over. We know we're going to get bad numbers, right, Dave? We know we'll get those...
The V-shaped recovery, as they say.
Right, that things will improve at some point. It's just a matter of how far down you have to go before that improvement comes. And the extent to which it may affect earnings estimates is another piece of the puzzle because, last time I looked at the S&P 500 for the first quarter, analysts are only anticipating 0.5% gain. So by the end of March, we could be in a situation that we were last year with analysts looking for a decline and companies having to kind of crawl out of the hole.
Right.
That is entirely possible. They managed to do it 3 out of 4 quarters last year, but you didn't get a whole lot of earnings growth net out of it all.
Like I said, always a reminder that something new can come
I know. Many black swans? Little black swans?
Little black swans.
Little black swans. All right, Dave Wilson, we will see you right after the close of trading, which is only 21 minutes away for your stock of the day. Coming up, Eric Clark's going to join us. Talk some names.
Yeah, exactly. Some brand names. You'll know them well, so we'll get into that in just a moment. Let's get back, though, to World and National News headlines. Bob Boone is on that. Hi, Bob.
Hi, Carol. He praised it repeatedly until he claimed he didn't know much about it.
WikiLeaks.
WikiLeaks. I love WikiLeaks. This WikiLeaks is like a treasure trove.
Now, fresh allegations from lawyers for WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange threaten to bring up what Trump dismisses as a failed witch hunt all over again. Fighting his extradition to the U.S., Assange's lawyers told a London court today they'll provide evidence that President Trump was prepared to offer a pardon if Assange agreed to, quote-unquote, play ball and say that Russia had nothing to do with leaks of Hillary Clinton's emails. It's a total lie. According to the White House, the Democratic National Committee has long accused Trump of conspiring with Russia and WikiLeaks in the run-up to the 2016 election.
I'm returning home today from a long exile, a freed political prisoner.
Like the president who granted him clemency, former Illinois Governor Rod Blagojevich was defiant and unapologetic about the scandal he continues to deny. He faced reporters on the steps of his Chicago home today, free of the 14-year sentence he was serving up until yesterday.
From beginning to end, this was persecution masquerading as prosecution.
And he praised President Trump for what he called his act of kindness. Meantime, a Florida woman who got clemency from President Trump in a $205 million Medicare fraud scam says her case was brought to Trump's attention by a woman whose own clemency came at the urging of reality TV star Kim Kardashian West. Judith Negron was 8 years into a 35-year sentence. She's among 11 inmates who received clemency from Trump. Global News 24 hours a day, on air and on Quick Take by Bloomberg. I'm Bob Moon.
Why has J.D. Power ranked Commonwealth Financial Network #1 in independent advisor satisfaction among financial investment firms for the 6th straight time? We think it comes down to one thing: you. Because it's your input and feedback that keeps us focused on what's most important to you and your clients and continually pushes us to be the best we can be. Maybe that's why we receive top marks in every category of the J.D. Power 2019 Advisor Satisfaction Survey. They named us #1 in client support, #1 in firm leadership, #1 in operational support, #1 in compensation, #1 in professional development support, and #1 in technology support. Ready to partner with the best? Call Commonwealth at 866-462-3638 or visit commonwealth.com and feel the power. Member FINRA SIPC, a registered investment advisor. For 2019 J.D. Power Award information, visit jdpower.com/awards.
Vatsal Shah is Senior Project Engineer at Mott MacDonald, a global engineering consultancy with more than 16,000 employees. He earned his PhD at New Jersey Institute of Technology, and as an adjunct professor is helping NJIT students explore emerging technologies.
My focus is renewable markets, emerging technologies, the idea of floating cities. What are we doing to develop that? What will happen to the city on the water? Well, you're going to have waves hitting it. You're going to have solar. How are you going to develop plants? How are you going to develop vegetation and farming? That sort of thought process happens at NJIT. We actually plan out what will the city look like. How do we develop that? So in 10 years, we're actually ready to take on those challenges when we have our first development in the water. NJIT also has been doing a lot of work in self-healing materials, so taking the polymers and the new material that we have in our material sciences departments and putting them into things like concrete, things like steel, reinforcing our soil.
NJIT, New Jersey Institute of Technology. Learn more at njit.edu.
I'm Peter Jones. Lifting business performance is critical in today's uncertain times. But how do you keep up with changing regulations and rising demands? How do you break free from manual processes to raise productivity? The answer is technology that elevates performance and comes with industry-leading support. Over 1 million UK businesses, including my investment group, trust Sage to manage their finances, operations and people.
Elevate your business today with our free performance review. Visit sage.com/perform.
I am a force for good.
I am a force for courage.
And for calm.
I am a force for safety.
For fairness.
For leadership.
I am a force for the future.
For compassion.
For my community.
I am a police officer.
And I am a force for all.
Be one of the 20,000 new police officers and be a force for all that you believe in. Search Join the Police.
Upgrade to TuneIn Premium and get over 45 commercial-free music stations. You'll also get live commercial-free news, plus live play-by-play games from NFL, MLB, NBA, and NHL. Visit TuneIn.com/premium to upgrade.
The puck drops. 12 players face off to win. The suspense is pure torture, but you wouldn't miss this for the world. TuneIn brings you every minute of the NHL season. Listen live to hockey when it matters most on TuneIn.
Like what you're listening to? Want to make getting back to it easier? Use the favorite button to keep track of the stations and podcasts you love on TuneIn. Just tap or click the heart icon to add it to your favorites. Then find all your go-to audio under the Favorites tab. Pretty easy, right?
When you're not listening to your team, take it to the end zone, the rim, or the net. Keep up with the biggest moments in sports by following TuneIn on social media.
Block, Cook into the end zone for the touchdown.
From reminders of the live top games to tips of the best sports stations and podcasts.
Welcome to Undisputed. We are live from Los Angeles. I'm Jenny Taft here with Skip
Follow
Bayless.
at TuneIn on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram to get the most out of TuneIn.
Major League Baseball is back. Are you ready to unlock the 2020 season with TuneIn Premium?
And this one is gone! It hits the foul pole!
Be there from day one with every single game of spring training, rivalry games, split squads, Cactus League, Grapefruit League. TuneIn Premium has it all. Then, when the pitch count starts for real, experience live and on-demand access to every game, everywhere you go, from opening day to the World Series. Don't miss out on the action. Search Premium to upgrade today.
You love TuneIn for live breaking news from CNN, MSNBC, Fox, CNBC, and more. But when you can't catch your favorite show as it airs, it might just be a click away as a podcast. Search your favorite news station to explore all the on-demand news shows on TuneIn.
To launch new strategies, add distribution channels, or exploit new technology to re-engineer the investor experience are often rewarded. However, in an industry paralyzed with complexity, few act with agility or decisively. Few run their business strategically. Yet, the most competitive managers in the market know, with the right partner and a flexible operating platform, you can. Go boldly toward change with SEI Investment Manager Services.
Determination and operational strength are both essential factors for growth in asset management. I'm Steve Meyer, President, Head of SEI's Investment Manager Services Division. We know that disruptive forces create opportunities around the world. If you see potential in change, our industry specialists will maximize SEI's integrated platform of data and risk management, global investment operations, compliance support, and investor services to position your asset management business for success. Come grow with us.
With SEI Investment Manager Services, you lead the charge in a competitive marketplace. Learn more at SEIC.com/seize change.
Business is constantly evolving. Is your financial printer evolving to keep ahead of the curve? At Command Financial, we are redefining financial printing by providing industry-leading expertise, leveraging technology, and honing processes and best practices. Every day, Command helps SEC registrants, as well as members of their working groups, including securities attorneys and investment bankers, prepare, file, and disseminate regulatory and disclosure documents, such as registration statements, M&A documents, and mutual fund prospectuses and reports. Command provides a full range of services to help you effectively complete your deal, meet your disclosure requirements, and achieve your shareholder communications objectives. Visit our website at commandfinancial.com and learn how we're evolving, not only with the times, but also with your business requirements. Command Financial, redefining financial printing.
Markets, headlines, and breaking news 24 hours a day at Bloomberg.com, the Bloomberg Business app, and on Quick Take by Bloomberg. This is a Bloomberg Business Flash.
From Bloomberg World Headquarters, I'm Charlie Pellet. We've got 13 minutes to go ahead of the closing bell with the Dow, the S&P, and NASDAQ off their session highs, but we are looking perhaps at a record close for both NASDAQ and the S&P 500 index right now. S&P up 17. That's a gain of 0.5%. Equities are advancing on signs China may be planning further measures to support its economy. The Dow up 120, higher by 0.4%. NASDAQ up 86 now. That is a gain of 0.9%. 10-year yield 1.56%. Gold up 0.6, 16.11 the ounce. West Texas Intermediate crude up 2.4%, 53.28 a barrel. Lots of earnings coming up after the closing bell. Travel stocks, including Avis Budget and Hyatt Hotels. We'll also be hearing from Boston Beer, Jack in the Box, and Zillow. Recapping, S&P up 17, up 0.5%. And that's your Bloomberg Business Flash.
I'm driving in my car. I turn on the radio.
How about you let me drive?
Oh, no.
Who's gonna drive you home?
Honey, please, I'll do the driving.
Drive on.
Excuse me, I want to drive.
Just drive, baby.
It's the question that drives us.
This is the drive to the close.
That funky music will drive us till the dawn.
On Bloomberg Radio.
And it is time, is it?
Sure.
Yeah.
Take it.
Do it.
Do it.
All right. It's time for the drive to the close. Eric Clark back with his portfolio manager at Rational Dynamic Brands Fund. He joins us on the phone from San Francisco. Eric, clearly we're both very excited to talk to you. We were fighting over who gets to introduce you. So that's a good sign, right?
That never happens.
Enjoy it while it lasts. So as you look at this market, how are you feeling about it? I mean, we were talking with our Dave Wilson about the idea that can't quite get our arms around the coronavirus impact yet, and the market seems to be looking for reasons to buy, not to sell. Agree, disagree? What do you make of it?
No, agree. I mean, it's almost like an any news is good news phenomenon, and it's starting to feel a little bit like January of 2018 when the market just goes up every single day. That's generally not healthy, which, that's why I'm a little bit cautious. I've been pretty bullish for a while, but some of this action, particularly in the high growth momentum areas, is getting a little frothy, and you can see it in sentiment and, looking through Twitter. There's some euphoria out there, and almost bordering on kind of take risks at any length because you'll always get rewarded. That always makes me a little cautious.
All right. So what does that mean then for your fund, your Rational Dynamic Brands Fund? I mean, it still looks like you're predominantly in equity, but help me out there. I think this was as of the end of January. Is that still the case, or have you pared back on some of your equity exposure?
No, I have. We've done some trimming. We were as high as 13% cash a couple of weeks ago, and that was more of just trimming the weeds, if you will, and then I got a chance to add to some of my favorite names, which were not nearly as overheated. So we do love to rotate around the portfolio, and when things are falling and we love the story, we get a chance to add to those names and trim some of the things that are a little extended. All right, so the portfolio looks a little bit different now than it did, end of year.
All right, so wait, so how much are you in equity? Forgive me, I think I might have missed that.
Well, right now we're about 8% in cash, so still 92% or so invested.
Okay.
But we have a little optionality with that cash, and we're still keeping up with the market, so it's a little bit of a have your cake and eat it too focus here.
So talk about the rotation. What did you maybe pare back on? What did you maybe allocate some new money to?
Yeah, well, we sold and trimmed some of the BABA. BABA was the biggest position, and we just kind of sold some of the names that were very, very exposed to China. Not that we didn't love those names, but it's an easy place for shorts to start hitting. So we trimmed some Disney, we trimmed some BABA. We had an underweight in Tencent, so I didn't do anything with that one. We trimmed some Japan too, some Sony, and then we rotated around and added to some of the more U.S.-centric names, and then some contrarian ideas too that have kind of bombed out a little bit.
What were some of the contrarian names?
Well, FedEx. It's pretty much been left for dead. Transports have been left for dead. They don't have a relationship with Amazon much anymore, and it's just kind of an underloved, super high valuable asset play that still has 30% share of the U.S. ground market, and wouldn't shock me. That's a perfect Warren Buffett type of acquisition. They've already done some stuff in the rails, and so that one's just well off the highs. And Dell has been another one. That's a technology company that's struggled mightily, and you got $38 billion in market cap with $90 billion in revenues. That's a pretty interesting idea too. It's well off the highs.
Can we talk a little about Lululemon? You still hold that one?
Still love Lulu. I mean, I would be shocked if they didn't have a shortfall this quarter. I mean, the biggest part of their growth story is still Asia, and China as well. So, I mean, most of those companies are all going to get a pass for at least one quarter with for sales growth. But it wouldn't shock me if they struggled a little bit for the quarter and lowered guidance. But then, if the stock goes down, I'll absolutely and happily buy more because we trimmed it we trimmed it already.
Can we go back to FedEx? I'm having a wait what moment. So you're thinking, and I think this is ahead of, we've got the Berkshire Hathaway meeting coming up. And so we'll be hearing from Warren Buffett about his thinking about the overall investment environment, maybe what he's doing with his investments. Are you saying that could possibly be bought by FedEx or a Walmart?
Or a Walmart. I think if you look what Amazon's done. They basically created their own logistics. Shopify is made an acquisition and they're building their own logistics. So, owning the end-to-end and the delivery part is certainly very valuable. They have a huge international exposure. FedEx does. So, it's just a very unloved, out-of-favor sector that is a very valuable asset. And I love very valuable assets that are unloved and sentiment's pretty bad. And now the stock's pretty cheap. So it wouldn't shock me if there were some buyers out there or they did some other things efficiency-wise or buyback-wise to take advantage of the weakness in the stock.
Talk to me about Spotify. We've been talking a lot about it recently, in part because one of my favorite podcast networks, the Ringer Podcast Network, Bill Simmons' shop just got bought by Spotify. We had the Gimlet Media guys as part of the Bloomberg 50. Spotify going big into the podcast world. You like this name. Tell me why.
I love it. It's our biggest holding now, and I added on the recent dip. I mean, I'm a very passionate music person, and so to me, the music platform is the best of any platform. But the audio casting and the podcasting and the content that they're buying that they can ultimately control and have much higher margins with relative to music, that's what I think the street doesn't really focus on today. Because it's what have you done for me lately? And they are building a really incredible flywheel that over time will show high profitability, great cash flow. And so I think over time, 5 years, we're going to look back and say, wow, the music was just the entree to what Spotify really is. There's no reason they can't take some of this great content that they own and then go to a Netflix or an Amazon and start producing video on that content too. So I think they have a lot of things they could do, and I don't think any of that is priced into the stock. So that's why I love it.
All right, Eric, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Eric Clark, portfolio manager at the Rational Dynamic Brands Fund, joining us on the phone from San Francisco. That fund, by the way, is beating just about all of its peers over the past 3 years, up on average 16% a year over that time frame. It's up nearly 27% in the past 1 year alone.
I love his conviction. He's got a case. I like it when people pick stocks and then have a very specific case for why they like them, and also he's willing to be like, yeah, we didn't get that right,
and talk through the story. Yeah, exactly, right. He's actually picking stocks, so it's really interesting to hear those stories. All right, we've just got
go figure. You pay somebody and they pick stocks, and if they do well, you give them more money.
Remember when that was a thing?
Yeah,
picking stocks.
It's adorable.
It's adorable. Don't you worry. We'll be talking to the grandkids. Once upon a time, you actually picked a stock.
Picked stocks. They made money. Then they got more money. They picked more stocks. It was
and then there was passive investing.
Those were the salad days. This is Bloomberg.
Leaders are born. What is it?
Discover Ireland's Wild Atlantic Way with Aer Lingus. Fly London to the west of Ireland from $32.99 each way as part of a return trip. Enjoy breathtaking scenery, taste fresh seafood, and explore wild coastal walks. Smart enjoys a short break in Ireland. Smart flies Aer Lingus. Book now at airlingus.com. Offer subject to conditions and availability.
Whatever job you're searching for, you can find it on LinkedIn. First jobs, flexible jobs, work from home on a Friday jobs, advertising jobs, accounting jobs, HR, PR, even ER jobs, Soho jobs, Shoreditch jobs. Keep me away from the central line jobs. Banking jobs, building jobs, never ever boring jobs. Small jobs, big jobs, lunch in Borough Market jobs, or even voiceover jobs, which is how I ended up recording this ad. Search millions of jobs on LinkedIn and find one meant for you.
Ah, finally another commercial, said no one ever. Visit tunein.com/premium to upgrade now and get over 45 commercial-free music stations.
This week on the New Yorker Radio Hour, another election story, but this one with a twist.
We need changing, gotta check me a vote. I got LGBT rights and I'm a legalized dope. America's going broke and I ain't gonna sit back while Creepy Joe looks at little girls like they some snacks.
Listen to this episode of the New Yorker Radio Hour on TuneIn today.
When you're not listening to your team, take it to the end zone, the rim, or the net. Keep up with the biggest moments in sports by following TuneIn on social media.
Block, Cook into the end zone for the touchdown.
From reminders of the live top games to tips of the best sports stations and podcasts.
Welcome to Undisputed. We are live from Los Angeles. I'm Jenny Taft here with Skip Bayless.
Follow and TuneIn on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram to get the most out of TuneIn.
Financial capital of the world, 24 hours a day at Bloomberg.com, on the Bloomberg Business app, and on Quick Take by Bloomberg. This is Bloomberg Radio. Markets, headlines, and breaking news 24 hours a day at Bloomberg.com, the Bloomberg Business app, and on Quick Take by Bloomberg. This is a Bloomberg Business Flash.
From Bloomberg World Headquarters, I'm Charlie Pellet. Records on Wall Street for both the NASDAQ Composite Index and the S&P 500 Index. A move higher as well for the Dow. Folks from SWM International ringing that closing bell as we await earnings from travel stocks Avis Budget and Hyatt. We'll also be hearing from Boston Beer, Jack in the Box, and Zillow. The Dow, the S&P, and NASDAQ all advancing today on signs that China may be planning further measures to support its economy as it reels from a virus-induced slowdown, and after Federal Reserve officials signaled they are not anxious to raise interest rates anytime soon. S&P at the close up 15 to a record 33.86. That was a gain of just about 0.5%. The Dow up 115, up 0.4. NASDAQ also at a record today, up 84 points, higher by 0.9%. So a move higher for the U.S. stock market. Eric Clark is portfolio manager at Rational Dynamic Brands Fund. He was our guest moments ago, right here on Bloomberg Business Week.
Some of this action, particularly in the high growth momentum areas, is getting a little frothy, and you can see it in sentiment. And looking through Twitter, there's some euphoria out there, and almost bordering on kind of take risks at any length, because you'll always get rewarded. That always makes me a little cautious.
The 10-year, the yield there 1.56%. Gold up 0.6%, 16.11 the ounce. West Texas Intermediate crude oil up today by 2.4%, 53.28 a barrel. Groupon plummeted after delivering worse than expected results and announcing plans to stop selling goods. Groupon shares plunging today by 44%. Also after earnings today, Ally Financial down 11.5%, down about the most in 6 years after the largest U.S. auto lender pushed into the subprime credit card business with a $2.65 billion acquisition. Gold up today by 0.6%, recapping S&P up by 0.5 at a record. I'm Charlie Pellet. That is a Bloomberg Business Flash.
Wild thing, think you move me. I got a few moves I know you'll like. Shake it, move me, shake it, move me, yeah, yeah. Oh, come on, shake it, cluster. Just move on. Toward your destination.
I can make things move without touching them.
Shaking all over.
Bloomberg Business Week, Movers and Shakers, with Carol Masser and Jason Kelly on Bloomberg Radio.
Yes, indeed. It is time to take a look at some of the movers and shakers on this Wednesday. Carol Masser along with Jason Kelly in our Interactive Broker studio.
I like how you pause when you say that with what?
Big picture, if I may. S&P 500, 303 names in the index higher today, 200 lower, 2 unchanged. Your number one gainer in the S&P 500, Concho Resources. The ticker is CXO. Stock is up 7.6%. That stock coming out with their earnings after the closing bell 24 hours ago. Their fourth quarter adjusted EPS, $1.03, $1.03, and that was 23 cents better than what Wall Street was forecasting. They also talked about their 2020 production up 10% to 12%. CapEx for 2020, $2.6 to $2.8 billion. But all in all, the company also saying dividend, the highest priority in returning cash flow back to investors. But all in all, added up, investors like what they got from that company. So again, the number one gainer in the S&P, stock up 7.6% today.
Taking a quick look at Apple, that stock ended up about 1.5% after losing about 1.8% yesterday on those concerns, that rare revenue warn that we got essentially overnight, Monday night coming into Tuesday. And essentially Apple investors saying it's going to be fine. Right? Not that much to worry about. And everything we talked about yesterday with Tom Giles, the concerns about the supply chain, still there. I mean, we don't know exactly what's going to happen. And you pointed this out earlier in the economics discussion. But for the moment, and this goes to something we were talking about with Eric Clark, there seems to be a sense of okay, we'll get a feel for it. And we will deal with it as it comes. So Apple coming in 1.45% up. Also taking a look at Tesla, if we can. That was the name we talked about with Dana Hull. Tesla finishing up another 6.9%, almost 7% today. So much enthusiasm for that name.
Yeah, it's more than doubled so far this year. One stock moving in the after hours, and that is ticker is CAR. We're talking about Avis. Stock is up almost 11% here in the after hours following the company's latest quarterly update. So Avis budget, fourth quarter adjusted EPS, 73 cents a share. This, I guess, is apples to apples. The estimate out there was 48 cents a share. So we're talking about 25 cents better than what Wall Street was forecasting. Revenue, so we're talking about the top line, also a beat, $2.16 billion versus $2.08 billion was the forecast. And the outlook.
Yeah, the outlook is the big thing. Yeah, 2020 revenue, did you see that number? 9.4 to 9.6. So that's the lowest of the range there is beating the estimate. The estimate had been for 9.33.
Yeah, so up and up those numbers. And the 2020 adjusted EPS, 375 to 475. The estimate out there on among the Wall Street analysts is for $3.89 a share. Sleep number, also smaller player, $1.6 billion market cap. But that stock, which is up already 15% so far in 2020, also out with its latest earnings report. Its fourth quarter EPS better than what Wall Street was forecasting, 82 cents a share. That compares with the estimate of 75 cents a share. Comp sales, this is important though, up 2% versus a 10% gain that was being forecast year over year. 2020 EPS, 310 a share. That too was a beat. 297 was the estimate. And if I take a quick look at what Sleep number is doing in the after hours, it's up 6.1%. So investors apparently pretty pleased with what they got from that one.
All right. Just taking a quick look at GE. That was the name we talked about a little bit earlier in the show. Essentially having to kind of figure out how to bolster its business over at Airbus because business at Boeing not going so well given the grounding of that 737 MAX. So GE having to answer some questions from investors there. That stock closing down about 1.1%. Want to do the VIX?
Yeah, let's do the VIX. Foot Locker, by the way, boosting its quarterly dividend to 40 cents a share from 38 cents. That's coming in the after hours. Not seeing too much reaction yet when it comes to the stock. As for the VIX?
Yeah, volatility down 3%. The VIX closing at 14.38. This is Bloomberg.
All right, Dave, you're up.
Hi, my name is Dave.
Wilson, where are you? Wilson!
Just what do you think you're doing, Dave?
We're going for a price on Wilson.
Open up the door, it's Dave. Who? Dave.
Hey, Mr. Wilson!
Dave Wilson is in the house. It is time for his stock of the day. And Dave, the ticker is KNL. We're talking about Knoll.
Indeed we are, Carol. It's a maker of office and home furniture. The commercial business accounts for about 60% of sales, and the rest is residential. Knoll was named for Hans Knoll, a German immigrant who founded the company in 1938. Its shares have been publicly traded since 2004. Now, Knoll set a record in December 2016 and came within 7 cents of that high last November. They backed off in a big way today after fourth quarter results were disappointing. Knoll's earnings trailed the estimates of the only two analysts represented in a Bloomberg survey. While their sales projections weren't available, the company's growth was the slowest in 9 quarters. The lack of analyst coverage prompted Knoll to start providing what it called expanded commentary in its earnings release. Now, the company said the results stemmed from a second-half slowdown in the furniture industry, among other issues. And you put that all together, Knoll's shares suffered their biggest loss in 3 years. They fell about 11.5%. At one point, they were down more than 17%.
Was there really a second-half industry slump?
Well, from their
Well, I'm
perspective,
just saying,
there was.
from other companies, do they?
They're actually citing an industry trade group in the press release. So, in other words, that's where they kind of come in with that perspective. So, you have to take it for what it's worth, nonetheless.
But you know where I'm coming from.
Yeah.
This is when you want to look at competitors and see how they did, right?
Right. Exactly.
All right, skeptical.
She's got her arms folded. She's giving that skeptical look. It's like when Aggie comes home and it's like, oh, I got this on my test. Like, did you? Did you really study? Anyway, Dave Wilson, thank you so much. We'll check in with you tomorrow for your market insights, your chart, and your stock of the day. Coming up, Sean Donnan. We haven't talked to him in a bit. I feel like trade has taken a little bit of a backseat, not for him, but for us.
I know, we crossed it off our big macro worry list.
That's fine. China, Osmica, it's all done.
All right, in the meantime, let's get a check on the latest world and national news headlines. Let's head on over to Ed Baxter. We find him in San Francisco. Hi, Ed.
Hi, Carol. Yeah, thanks. The gloves truly off. The question, are they off tonight in boxing's capital, Las Vegas, as a field of Democrats debate? Now, the field has been pared down. +1. Mike Bloomberg. All the talk has been about a tax on the newcomer, but Jeannie Zaino, Applied Technomics senior advisor and Bloomberg News contributor, says maybe a little different than that.
I think tonight we're looking, number one, to see, does Bernie Sanders go on the offense or does he go on the defense? Is he under attack as much as he probably should be given the poll numbers, because he is leading in every poll?
Zaino says especially Elizabeth Warren may spend time going after Sanders to try and wrest back some support in the progressive wing of the party. Michael Bloomberg is founder of Bloomberg LP, parent company of Bloomberg Radio. The head of the U.S. National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, Dr. Anthony Fauci, says coronavirus death rates are likely to come down as more people recover, but he says the numbers are very hard right now to quantify.
And the reason is that what is likely not getting counted is a large number of people who are either asymptomatic or minimally symptomatic.
And he says that is hard to count. Now, China says it is going to meet its 2020 budget estimates, and Bloomberg's Sophie Kamarudin says IMF forecasts are not all that dim.
Following the disruption to the Chinese economy, there will be a period of stronger catch-up growth, as was experienced in the wake of the SARS epidemic.
And China's revoked the press credentials of 4 Wall Street Journal reporters. They issue an opinion piece on the coronavirus that it deemed racist. The headline on the story was "Real Sick Man of Asia." Beijing says it smears the efforts of those fighting the disease. In San Francisco, I'm Ed Baxter. This is Bloomberg.
Two people who are as fascinated by the markets as you are.
What's your sense of the competitive landscape in the cloud business?
Lisa Abramowitz.
People were talking about potential regulatory pressure.
And Paul Sweeney.
Are you seeing flows into ESG ETFs?
Bloomberg Markets.
What's your main conversation today with some of these corporate executives?
Weekday mornings at 10 Eastern.
They're spending a lot of money there.
On Bloomberg Radio, the Bloomberg Business app, and BloombergRadio.com. Bloomberg, the world is listening.
My mother was always very active and independent, and she was familiar with her neighborhood. But one day, she stopped at the stop sign for much longer than usual. She wasn't even really sure where she was at.
It's important for you to talk to someone about it. I felt so much better after my son told me, "Mom, we'll figure it out."
When something feels different, it could be Alzheimer's. Now is the time to talk. Visit alz.org/ourstories to learn more. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
In-depth analysis, concise reporting, need-to-know global business news. Around the world and across the markets, Bloomberg connects the dots for decision makers. Stay on top of today's headlines. Follow big breakthroughs in tech. Understand the latest political issues. See how the world's wealthiest are spending their money. Track what's happening in the markets, and much more. Subscribe today to Bloomberg, the global standard for business reporting. Get it all at Bloomberg.com/subscriptions.
1 in 3 adults has prediabetes. 1 in 3. That means it could be you, your football buddy, your football buddy, or you, your best man, your worst man, you, your dog walker, your cat jogger. While 1 in 3 adults has prediabetes, with early diagnosis, prediabetes can be reversed. Take the risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and its Prediabetes Awareness Partners.
The market's in focus every business day.
Good morning, this is your Southern service to London Victoria. Join in our onboard quiz. Here's our next clue. What C sounds like a handheld party food but keeps you dry and protected from the rain? Not canapes, canopies.
At Southern Railway, we're investing over £7 million into making improvements for you, like canopies, cycle parking, and new platform lighting across more of our stations. Find out more and book your tickets at southernrailway.com. Southern Railway, we're with you.
You love TuneIn for live breaking news from CNN, MSNBC, Fox, CNBC, and more. But when you can't catch your favorite show as it airs, it might just be a click away as a podcast. Search your favorite news station to explore all the on-demand news shows on TuneIn.
When you're not listening to your team, take it to the end zone, the rim, or the net. Keep up with the biggest moments in sports by following TuneIn on social media.
Block, Cook into the end zone for the touchdown.
From reminders of the live top games to tips of the best sports stations and podcasts.
Welcome to Undisputed. We are live from Los Angeles. I'm Jenny Taft here with Skip Bayless.
Follow at TuneIn on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram to get the most out of TuneIn.
Want to know a quick, easy way to see if your favorite podcasts have a new episode available? Just go to the home screen on your TuneIn app and see the latest editions under the Your New Episodes section. Happy listening.
This is not a commercial. This is a reminder. With TuneIn Premium, you could be listening to more music commercial-free. Get over 45 commercial-free music stations. Visit TuneIn.com/premium to upgrade.
Major League Baseball is back. Are you ready to unlock the 2020 season with TuneIn Premium?
And this one is gone! It hits the foul pole!
Be there from day one with every single game of spring training, rivalry games, split squads, Cactus League, Grapefruit League. TuneIn Premium has it all. Then, when the pitch count starts for real, experience live and on-demand access to every game, everywhere you go, from opening day to the World Series. Don't miss out on the action. Search Premium to upgrade today.
The puck drops. 12 players face off to win. The suspense is pure torture, but you wouldn't miss this for the world. TuneIn brings you every minute of the NHL season. Listen live to hockey when it matters most on TuneIn.
And before you know it, you're having simulated conversations voiced by native speakers. And because Babbel is crafted by language experts and uses the spaced repetition method, in just 10 to 15 minutes a day, you'll be speaking the language of your choice with real confidence. With Babbel, you can speak a language. Just text EXPLORE to 64,000 and start your first lesson in the language of your choice for free. Download the Babbel app or text EXPLORE to 64,000 and try it for free. Text EXPLORE to 64,000.
Are you interested in a challenging and exciting career? One where you can be part of solving complex challenges across industries and geographies? Bloomberg's ever-expanding technology, data, news, and media services foster innovation, empower clients, and offer nearly limitless opportunities for career growth. Visit Bloomberg.com/careers today to view our current job opportunities. Bloomberg LP is an equal opportunity employer. The address once again is Bloomberg.com/careers.
Hey y'all, Jeff Foxworthy here. Now, if you've ever found yourself repeating the same thing over and over for 75 years, you might be Smokey Bear.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
That's why I'm filling in for Smokey to switch things up, because there's a lot more to say. And I should know because my grandfather was a firefighter. And one of the things he taught me is that the people that love the outdoors the most are often the ones accidentally starting wildfires, which means always BYOB. No, bring your own bucket to the campfire. And be extra careful with things like burning yard trimmings. Don't just walk away, or chances are you might be starting a wildfire. So for the love of the outdoors, go to SmokeyBear.com to learn more about wildfire prevention. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
Markets, headlines, and breaking news 24 hours a day at Bloomberg.com, the Bloomberg Business app, and on Quick Take by Bloomberg. This is a Bloomberg Business Flash.
From Bloomberg World Headquarters, I'm Charlie Pellet, just getting the latest numbers out of Boston Beer. Shares are lower after earnings, down by roughly 4%. Boston Beer reporting EPS for the fourth quarter that missed the average analyst estimate. Fourth quarter EPS, $1.12. Estimates there, $1.54. Boston Beer's fourth quarter net revenue, $301 $101.3 million. Estimates $283.8 million. Again, shares down by roughly 4%. Stocks advanced on signs China may be planning further measures to support its economy as it reels from a virus-induced slowdown. Also, after Federal Reserve officials signaled they are not anxious to raise interest rates anytime soon. S&P and NASDAQ both at records today, with the S&P up 15, up 0.5. NASDAQ up 84. That was a gain of 0.9%. The Dow up 115 points, up by 0.4%. 10-year yield 1.56%. Gold up 0.6%. $16.11 the ounce. West Texas Intermediate crude up 2.3%. $53.25 a barrel. Recapping, S&P up 15, up 0.5. I'm Charlie Pellet, and that is a Bloomberg Business Flash.
Charlie, thanks a lot. You are listening to Bloomberg Business Week right here on Bloomberg Radio.
All right, so interesting story today on the Bloomberg. It's about President Trump intervening to stop some of his administration's hardliners when it comes to China. It's what I like to call a wait what moment. Here to explain, Sean Donnan, back with us, senior trade reporter at Bloomberg News. He's in our 99.1 studio in Washington, D.C. Sean, we've missed you, man. We need another trade war.
Can we just leave it at what we've had?
All right.
I've had enough war.
We'll figure out other things to talk with you about.
I'm all for peace.
I like peace, too. Tell us about your story, though. This was, as I say, a wait what moment. What's going on here?
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. And there's a lot of people in Washington today going, wait, what? The President Trump took to Twitter yesterday, and then he kind of rolled through the day and expanded on it. And he really kind of cut the knees out from some hardliners in the administration who were pushing for a kind of next wave of controls on exports of technology to China as part of this, brewing technology Cold War that people have been talking about. And the hardliners were looking at two things. One, GE has some engines that it's selling to the Chinese for their new C919 single-aisle passenger jet, which is now in testing and is a potential threat down the line to Boeing and Airbus, and kind of new player in commercial aviation. And there's people in the administration who think that GE should not be selling jets because that's just helping them potentially outcompete the U.S. down the line. And the second thing that people in the administration were looking at was some new controls to close some loopholes on sales by U.S. suppliers to Huawei, that Chinese company that we've all heard about a lot in the past year. And the president has basically come in and interrupted the conversation and said, you know what? I just want to sell stuff to China.
Right.
And I don't want to, and he kind of talked about what he called a fake national security excuse, which is the real wait what moment, because if you look back at the last couple of years and the trade wars, the big excuse for tariffs that's been rolled out by this administration over and over and over again has been that they are defending U.S. national security and interests. And the president kind of calling time on that a little bit and saying he wants to do business.
Yeah, and it's interesting, too. I mean, the other tweet that really jumped out at me, President Xi of China and I'm quoting the president here, working together to give massive Chinese phone company ZTE a way to get back into business fast. Too many jobs in China lost. Commerce Department has been instructed to get it done. Again, I look at this, I'm like, wait, what?
That was a wait what moment from back in May 2018. So that gets into, if you talk to people in the administration and people who've been inside these conversations in the Oval Office with the president on China, it's something that has kind of gotten lost in the debate over China and this new technology Cold War and the possibility that the U.S. and China are decoupling as economies.
Right.
And that is that the president isn't there with a lot of his hawks. You hear from people inside the administration that the president is a businessman and he wants to sell to China.
I'm trying to get my head around this. Is this political or is this
economic?
Economic, yeah.
Well, Well, and part of it is economic and political, and economic is political this year, and in an election year in which the president is running on the economy. And you also talk to people inside the administration. We sat down with Larry Kudlow a couple of weeks ago, and my colleague Jenny Leonard and I, and one of the things he told us was that there's very little appetite for any more tariffs inside the administration, except for a few hardliners, and that he used actually this really colorful phrase that no one's salivating for a trade war this year. And there's one big reason for that, is that the president is running on the back of the economy, but also on these trade deals that he's cut with China and the new NAFTA, USMCA, and he doesn't want to upset the markets by throwing some new tariffs and or rekindling anything that looks like a trade war.
Well, I think about the conversation, Sean, Jason and I caught up with the head of JSW Steel USA, the president and CEO, John Hritz, and it's a story that's by Joe Doe. It's in the magazine.
Great story.
Yeah, it's a great story. We caught up with him because here was somebody who was in favor of these tariffs to protect the U.S. domestic steel industry, but he's now also suing the U.S. Commerce Department because the way those tariffs played out ultimately hurt him. But it's just a reminder of these policies, and you do wonder, as the president looks forward to elections, what things get kind of tweaked a little bit and changed.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I mean, one of the great lessons we've had in the last couple of years on tariffs is that they always come with unintended consequences. And that's exactly what that JSW Steel story tells you. And we've seen that in other parts of the economy. I was just looking at a freight index that came out this week, the Cass Freight Index for December. Freight moving the United States was at its lowest level in December since the Great Recession in 2009. Wow. That is a reflection of the trade wars. It's also a reflection of the slowdown in the manufacturing economy here in the United States, which is still going on. And if we think back to 2016, what did Donald Trump promise to do when he was running for election? That was to rekindle manufacturing, to revive manufacturing. And it's now looking a little tougher there.
All right, Sean Donnan, we love catching up with you. It's been too long. Thank you.
All right, we don't need another trade war.
No, we just need some more time with Sean Donnan. That's it. That's it. Trade goes on. Trade rolls on. And obviously, with a day like today, you never know what's going to happen next, because all of a sudden the president's going to be like, no, we're cool. Yeah. Like, you guys need to settle down.
Yeah.
Isn't that funny?
So getting my head around the story.
Never know. Wait, what?
Coming up, another story about a new book that's out on Facebook. Our Austin Carr read it, reviewed it, so we'll see what he has to say about it. That's coming up next right here on Bloomberg.
This is a Bloomberg Money Minute. Stocks got back on track after retreating yesterday. A modest advance lifted the S&P and NASDAQ to all-time highs. The Dow Jones Industrial Average climbed 116. The S&P 500 rose 16. The NASDAQ Composite gained 84. Doesn't look like interest rates are going anywhere anytime soon. Minutes from the Fed's meeting last month show officials see their current policy as appropriate for a time, but the Fed remains on guard against risks that could slow the economy. Home builders remained busy in January, even as construction activity slowed from December. The government says housing starts fell 3.6%, but still beat forecasts. Building permits surged to the best level since 2007. Struggling Midwest farmers may find a new market for their corn in your gas tank. BP and Shell are exploring boosting the ethanol content in gasoline at some stations in Iowa from 10% to 15%. Larry Kofsky, Bloomberg Radio.
Imagine being fired because of who you love. Imagine being denied medical treatment because of who you marry. Imagine being evicted because of who you are. Millions of Americans don't have to imagine this. They have to live it. Because in 31 states, it's legal to discriminate against LGBT people. Get the facts at beyondido.org. Brought to you by the Gill Foundation and the Ad Council.
In-depth analysis, concise reporting, need-to-know global business news. Around the world and across the markets, Bloomberg connects the dots for decision makers. Stay on top of today's headlines. Follow big breakthroughs in tech. Understand the latest political issues. See how the world's wealthiest are spending their money. Track what's happening in the markets, and much more. Subscribe today to Bloomberg, the global standard for business reporting. Get it all at Bloomberg.com/subscriptions.
Discover
Cover cork with Aer Lingus when you fly from London from $55.99 each way as part of a return trip. Experience this vibrant city and head to the coast for authentic Irish seafood and stunning scenery. Smart enjoys a short break in Ireland. Smart flies Aer Lingus. Book now at airlingus.com. Offer subject to conditions and availability.
Major League Baseball is back. Are you ready to unlock the 2020 season with TuneIn Premium?
And this one is gone! It hits the foul pole!
Be there from day one with every single game of spring training, rivalry games, split squads, Cactus League, Grapefruit League. TuneIn Premium has it all. Then, when the pitch count starts for real, experience live and on-demand access to every game, everywhere you go, from opening day to the World Series. Don't miss out on the action. Search Premium to upgrade today.
Want to know a quick, easy way to see if your favorite podcasts have a new episode available? Just go to the home screen on your TuneIn app and see the latest editions under the Your New Episode section. Happy listening.
Ah, finally another commercial, said no one ever. Visit tunein.com/premium to upgrade now and get over 45 commercial-free music stations.
When you're not listening to your team, take it to the end zone, the rim, or the net. Keep up with the biggest moments in sports by following TuneIn on social media.
Block, Cook into the end zone for the touchdown.
From reminders of the live top games to tips of the best sports stations and podcasts.
Welcome to Undisputed. We are live from Los Angeles. I'm Jenny Taft here with Skip
Follow
Bayless.
at TuneIn on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram to get the most out of TuneIn. The puck drops. 12 players face off to win. The suspense is pure torture, but you wouldn't miss this for the world. TuneIn brings you every minute of the NHL season. Listen live to hockey when it matters most on TuneIn.
This week on the New Yorker Radio Hour, another election story, but this one with a twist.
We need changing, gotta check me your vote. I got LGBT rights and I'm a legalized dope. America's going broke and I ain't gonna sit back. While Creepy Joe looks at little girls like they some snacks.
Listen to this episode of the New Yorker Radio Hour on TuneIn today.
From the Bloomberg Interactive Brokers Studio in New York, Bloomberg 1130 to Washington, D.C., Bloomberg 99.1 to Boston, Bloomberg 106.1 to San Francisco, Bloomberg 960 to the country, Sirius XM Channel 119, and around the globe, the Bloomberg Business app and BloombergRadio.com. This is Bloomberg Business Week.
Coming up, endlessly fascinating. That's the history of Facebook, the culture of Facebook.
I thought you were going to
founder
talk
of
about the reporter.
Oh, well, yeah, that goes without saying.
It's a given. Austin Carr is going to join us. Facebook, a new book. It's called Facebook, The Inside Story. So he read it. He reviewed it. We'll see what he has to say.
Yeah, we will. And we're looking forward to it. He is fascinating. Fascinating. As is Charlie Pellet. He's got the fascinating headlines.
Maybe.
And Austin's got the same last name in the ticker, almost, CAR, company I'm going to be talking about right here. We have got
all
Avis.
comes together.
It really does. That's what we do. We've got Avis reporting fourth quarter results above expectations and a strong 2020 forecast. Shares driving higher right now, up by 12%. Rival Hertz, by the way, is down 0.8%. Zillow Group also after the bell. It reported fourth quarter revenue that beat estimates, sending shares higher in late trading. Zillow posting revenue of $944 million, exceeding the average analyst estimate of $815 million. Shares jumped even as the company reported a net loss of $101 million. Zillow shares, they are zipping higher now by 8.7%. Boston Beer lower after earnings. Boston Beer reporting EPS for the fourth quarter that missed the average analyst estimate. An update on Wall Street with the Dow, the S&P, and NASDAQ all moving higher today. S&P up by 15. That was a gain of 0.5%. Dow Jones Industrial Average up 115 points, up 0.4. NASDAQ higher by 84. That was a gain of 0.9%. Have to mention records today for both the S&P and also for NASDAQ. 10-year yield 1.56%. Gold up 0.6%. 1% today at $16.11 the ounce, holding above $1,600. Crude West Texas Intermediate now with a 53 handle, 53.50 on WTI, up by 2.8%. Bloomberg exclusive earlier today, we caught up with the European Union's antitrust and tech chief, Margaret Vestager, who talked about a number of topics, including tougher regulations for digital companies.
The important thing is to see real change on ground. And in that, well, we're still considering if not regulation is needed to make sure that all the things that we have discussed and decided in the real world also is represented when we're in our digital reality.
And again, recapping equities higher here with the S&P up 15, higher by 0.5%. Facebook lower today by 0.1%. I'm Charlie Pellet. That is a Bloomberg Business Flash.
Charlie, thank you so much. You are listening to Bloomberg Business Week right here on Bloomberg Radio.
I've just seen a face, I can't forget the time or place where we just met.
Facebook is what we want to talk about. Safe to say it's going to end up being one of the most studied
book.
It's going to end up, Jason, being one of the most studied and written about companies and company founders. I feel like it's already there. We're talking about Facebook and Mark Zuckerberg. And in keeping with that, there's a new book. It's called Facebook, The Inside Story. Austin Carr is technology reporter. He read the book. He joins us now with what he thought. He writes about it in the Pursuit section of the magazine. So
he doesn't need to be liked. He just wants to be understood.
He just wants to be understood. That was Mark Zuckerberg's stated goal for the decade ahead. Yeah, well, he used to do, big annual goals, but now he's shifted to decade-long goals. He's taking a long-term perspective, and I think that's really what this book gets into. I mean, it's quite a large book. It's about 500 plus pages, which I had a weekend to read, which was fun.
Did you like it?
I did enjoy it. I mean, if you're really obsessed with this sort of history and sort of palace intrigue, he does get into a lot of the details going back from the dorm room of Harvard all the way up to present. So you're going to get into the details about how Sheryl Sandberg came to the company and really deep into the election and sort of some of the misinformation issues and propaganda that was spread on the platform. But overall, this was sort of a portrait of a company that's still coming to grips with all the issues that their platform has developed. And I feel like it's really fascinating to read the first half of the book, knowing the optimism and idealism that went into developing things, and then knowing what comes after the 2016 election.
The Social Network, do I need to read the book?
Oh my God, that's exactly what I was going to ask.
That is terrifying.
Yeah, that is a little scary because I love that movie. I mean, I feel like it's one of the best movies of the last 20 years.
I do love that movie as well, and he actually does go into trying to separate fact from fiction when it comes to the movie. The irony, of course, is I really do feel like that movie painted a very prescient, impressionistic picture of what Zuckerberg is like, although a lot of the facts are off, and it's definitely more, taking a lot of creative license, I would say. It's Sorkinized, yeah.
But what's interesting, this book, is the author had access, right, to, they condoned or were involved.
Correct, yeah. And Stephen Levy, he's a veteran tech journalist. He's been writing about Facebook going as far back as I think 2006, 2007 timeframe. But for the last couple of years, he's been having a lot of many hours of access to top executives. Talked to Sheryl, talked to Zuck extensively.
Right.
And so this is sort of the quote inside story, meaning it's the story that Facebook wants to get out there. A lot of times they don't participate in magazine profiles, or especially lately outside of Senate hearings, they're not talking on the record. So it is really interesting to get their insights, insofar as the insights aren't that insightful. I mean, you have a lot of the quotes from Zuckerberg that are sort of toning down the truth, or there's this really remarkable quote toward the end of the book in which he sort of argues that Facebook has actually created more privacy rather than sort of eliminated it from the public sphere. And you just have to sort of grapple with, wow, is this really how this guy thinks about the challenges that face Facebook?
Right. And one of the things you point out in the story, just to go back to the sort of Social Network versus this, is there's no Sheryl Sandberg in Social Network. There's a lot of Sheryl Sandberg in this book.
There is a lot, especially toward the latter half. And, one of the more interesting things, you're sort of seeing who the fingers get pointed at for a lot of the Facebook woes over the last couple of years. And a lot of them, surprisingly, were pointed at Sheryl. Some of that is attributed to the tragic death of her husband a few years back, and that coming right before the election. Stephen Levy writes that she wasn't operating at peak performance then, but also that she was sort of a micromanager and very much obsessed with her image, which Zuckerberg is guilty of too, as the reporting shows, but it was really revealing just to see how much of her image is managed for the public.
Well, and remind me, because I thought kind of her ability to maybe get emotional and teary Talk to us a little bit about that, because I thought that was pretty critical.
It was interesting. I mean, there was a couple moments in the book where the implication being that Sandberg sort of plays up being vulnerable or anxious about an interview to get softer questions in interviews with journalists. Yeah. And, perhaps that's common in the industry. In fact, a Facebook comms person was arguing on Twitter that, she is real and authentic when she's getting emotional. She does get nervous before these things. But I think there's an insinuation in the book that perhaps she's just doing this for public consumption.
Sort of ginning it up a little bit, yeah. There's also a great anecdote that you write about with the hairdryer in the armpits.
Yes, one of the more disturbing images in the book.
For Zuckerberg, we should
come on, everybody's been there.
Yeah, exactly. Well, the anecdote being that Zuckerberg is just...
Have they?
But that's just a PR team protecting the... You know what I mean?
Who is asking for it? Well, it was funny. On Twitter yesterday, we saw Twitter's communications team jump in and basically express alarm that this was a task the comms had to do for Zuckerberg. And then Jack Dorsey responded saying that he would be happy to do that service for anyone on the Twitter communications team himself, which was very kind of him. I don't know if they'd say the same about Steve Ballmer or anything like that.
I was going to say, Stephen Levy, thank you. Send us a thank you, because people are going to want to read this book now, just because they're like, wait, what is that?
Yeah, what is this? What's going on? It's a great review. Always good to see you. All right, let's get out to San Francisco and check in with Ed Baxter. What's going on?
All right, Jason, thanks. Viva Las Vegas. Some very new dynamics as the Democratic field debates tonight. First, Bernie Sanders is running very strongly in every poll. And second, Mike joins the field.
We hear a lot about the, sort of debates going to be contentious between Bloomberg and Sanders, but we really should see Elizabeth Warren go after Bernie Sanders. We can't forget, Mike Bloomberg is not on the ballot in Nevada. The other 5 are.
Jeannie Zaino, a Bloomberg News contributor, says it'll be very interesting to see where the attacks go first. Michael Bloomberg is founder of Bloomberg LP, parent company of Bloomberg Radio. As passengers are released from the Diamond Princess cruise ship in Japan, more concern about the whole process is surfacing. Kentaro Iwata, who is a professor of infectious diseases at Kobe University, and he happened to be a passenger on the Princess.
Inside Princess Diamond, I was so scared. I was so scared of getting COVID-19 because there was no way to tell where the virus is. No green zone, no red zone. Everywhere could have virus, and everybody was not careful about it.
And he says there was nobody in control and worries that numbers of people who are infected are being released right now. The Japanese government says everybody has been checked and rechecked. Meanwhile, the director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, Dr. Anthony Fauci, says it is very hard to predict.
My sense, and the sense of many of my colleagues, is that the ultimate case fatality rate is what we call it, the death rate, is less than 2%.
And the CDC is warning travelers to Hong Kong to be prepared for the virus. In San Francisco, I'm Ed Baxter. This is Bloomberg.
Asset managers who seize change to launch new strategies, add distribution channels, or exploit new technology to re-engineer the investor experience are often rewarded. However, in an industry paralyzed with complexity, few act with agility or decisively. Few run their businesses strategically, yet the most competitive managers in the market know with the right partner and a flexible operating system, you can. Go boldly toward change with SEI Investment Manager Services.
Determination and operational strength are both essential factors for growth in asset management. I'm Steve Meyer, President and Head of SEI's Investment Manager Services Division. We know that disruptive forces create opportunities around the world. If you see potential in change, our industry specialists will maximize SEI's integrated platform of data and risk management, global investment operations, compliance support, and investor services to position your asset management business for success. Come grow with us.
With SEI Investment Manager Services, you lead the charge in a competitive marketplace. Learn more at SEIC.com/seize change.
Business is constantly evolving. Is your financial printer evolving to keep ahead of the curve? At Command Financial, we are redefining financial printing by providing industry-leading expertise, leveraging technology, and honing processes and best practices. Every day, Command helps SEC registrants, as well as members of their working groups, including securities attorneys and investment bankers, prepare, file, and disseminate regulatory and disclosure documents, such as registration statements, M&A documents, and mutual fund prospectuses and reports. Command provides a full range of services to help you effectively complete your deal. meet your disclosure requirements, and achieve your shareholder communications objectives. Visit our website at commandfinancial.com and learn how we're evolving, not only with the times, but also with your business requirements. Command Financial, redefining financial printing.
Upgrade to TuneIn Premium and get over 45 commercial-free music stations. You'll also get live commercial-free news, plus live play-by-play games from NFL, MLB, NBA, and NHL. Visit TuneIn.com/premium to upgrade.
When you're not listening to your team, take it to the end zone, the rim, or the net. Keep up with the biggest moments in sports by following TuneIn on social media.
Block, Cook into the end zone for the touchdown.
From reminders of the live top games to tips of the best sports stations and podcasts.
Welcome to Undisputed. We are live from Los Angeles. I'm Jenny Taft here with Skip Bayless.
Follow at TuneIn on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram to get the most out of TuneIn. The puck drops. 12 players face off to win. The suspense is pure torture, but you wouldn't miss this for the world. TuneIn brings you every minute of the NHL season. Listen live to hockey when it matters most on TuneIn.
Like what you're listening to? Want to make getting back to it easier? Use the favorite button to keep track of the stations and podcasts you love on TuneIn. Just tap or click the heart icon to add it to your favorites. Then find all your go-to audio under the Favorites tab. Pretty easy, right?
This week on the New Yorker Radio Hour, another election story, but this one with a twist.
We need changing, gotta check me a vote. I got LGBT rights and I'm a legalized dope. America's going broke and I ain't gonna sit back while Creepy Joe looks at little girls like they some snacks.
Listen to this episode of the New Yorker Radio Hour on TuneIn today.
Major League Baseball is back. Are you ready to unlock the 2020 season with TuneIn Premium?
And this one is gone! It hits the foul pole!
Be there from day one with every single game of spring training, rivalry games, split squads, Cactus League, Grapefruit League. TuneIn Premium has it all. Then, when the pitch count starts for real, experience live and on-demand access to every game, everywhere you go. From opening day to the World Series. Don't miss out on the action. Search Premium to upgrade today.
HUD.gov/fair housing. That's HUD.gov/fair housing. Or call 1-800-669-9777. 1-800-669-9777. A public service message from HUD in partnership with the National Fair Housing Alliance.
Hope you enjoyed your meal. And I just want to say, he's lucky to have a brother like you.
Lucky? Caring for my brother is far from easy. But he's a part of me, like my arms and legs, so I'll be his. No time for tired. Nothing can disable this love. He needs me, but I'm the lucky one, even though I need help now and then.
If you're caring for a loved one, visit aarp.org/caregiving for care guides and community support for your strength. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Why do hedge funds and other alternative managers rely on Pershing for a highly personalized experience? Mark Alderati, a managing director at BNY Mellon's Pershing and head of Prime Services, explains.
In today's fast-paced environment, where the only constants are change and volatility, you need a prime broker who's both steady and agile, focused on supporting your needs so that you can focus on growing your business and producing results. Exceptional client service and advocating for our clients is at the core of what we do. Our award-winning high-touch team is just one of the benefits of working with BNY Mellon. We help alternative investment managers create great experiences for their clients. Whether it's customized financing, securities lending solutions, platform access, or outsourced trading, BNY Mellon's Pershing is a prime broker who's committed to this business and dedicated to meeting your evolving demands.
To learn more about the unique and industry-leading solutions for hedge funds and other alternative managers, visit Pershing.com. Pershing LLC. Member FINRA, NYSE, SIPC.
Message and data rates may apply. T&C and privacy terms can be found at bevel.com/terms. Please don't text and drive.
Have you wanted to speak a new language, but you thought it'd be too hard or take too much time? Then try Babbel for free by texting EXPLORE to 64,000. In just 15 minutes a day, you'll be on your way to speaking a new language in just a few weeks. And right now, you can try Babbel for free. Babbel starts out teaching you words and phrases by matching them with pictures. You won't believe how easy the interactive program is. Soon the sentences get a little bigger, and before you know it, you're having simulated conversations voiced by native speakers. And because Babbel is crafted by language experts and uses the spaced repetition method, in just 10 to 15 minutes a day, you'll be speaking the language of your choice with real confidence. With Babbel, you can speak a language. Just text EXPLORE to 64,000 and start your first lesson in the